gonna die. Go too fast. I'm taking 3.
I'm going for the St. Louis now.
Oh no!
Son of a bitch.
You get your 2?
Yeah.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Thotgor here, of course, and today we are going to take a look at a battle in the Hipper on Two Brothers. So this was an interesting battle. I'm sure we all come across these sorts of situations before. As the title implies, we're taking one for the team today. So as the battle loads up here, we'll quickly, see what I'm talking about. But this was also an interesting well, I guess a favorable matchmaker, right? Because it was tier 8 was the high tier, didn't have to worry about any tier 10s or anything like that, so it made it a little easier as well, I suppose. But the Hipper still, really great ship. What I'm going to do here, my plan originally, is to go over onto the east side and try to take the D cap point. This is where I spawned. I figured, most of the team usually does go over to the west. I'm going to head over to the east, maybe play defense over here, but we'll see. Now, as we're getting into position over here as well, we'll talk a little about taking one for the team. Now, you do see these situations often enough in battles anyway, where, potentially, if someone on the team were to sacrifice their lives and put up enough of a defense, or, stall the enemy enough, victory would be yours. Or the teams, I should say. So those sorts of situations do happen, but how often do people actually go into those situations, put themselves into that situation and are successful? Because I know I definitely try, and I'm sure a lot of you try as well. You see it happening and it's like, I got to do something, but end up dying. End up dying without doing a whole lot, so not so much in this case around, but still good gameplay as well. So moving over into the east, you can see, surprisingly enough, there does seem to be a few players, allies on my team here, who are also coming over here to the east as well. I was surprised. I didn't think this many ships would head over here as well. I knew that the 2 battleships behind me probably would, but the rest who are over there on the west side didn't actually think, or rather who are spawned on the west and heading to the east, I figured they would have continued over to the west, but oh well. So looking around, obviously, again, don't want to be the first person spotted, so we do have the destroyers out front, and I'm going to stay behind them, using cover as I can, right? We do see some enemy battleships off in the distance. We've gotten a Moggy and a New Mexico, I believe, so we're going to have to deal with these guys eventually. Now, I do end up turning in as soon as I spot them. I turn in because I have this island here that allows me to do this, to turn in, close the distance with them a little here, maybe even get into firing range, and stay covered for the most part. Now, as soon as I come out from around the island, yeah, spotted right away. We do have an Amagi off in the distance, so we're going to put some shots off into the Amagi immediately, and then obviously we'll just start taking some evasive maneuvers here in case, there are other ships. We know that the New Mexico is out there as well. There could be other ships there as well. We haven't seen any cruisers as of yet. More shots into the Amagi. The first salvo wasn't too bad. Did about 3,800 damage, I believe. Second salvo goes in, and there we go. We get a nice little hit on the Amagi, so fantastic. We do see the New Mexico now off in the distance. Bow on though, so it's going to make these shots a little more difficult to actually land and get damage. Most likely they're going to go in and bounce and whatnot, but if you do manage to get a pretty good sweet spot, which usually tends to be behind, or the space in between the forward and aft turrets in the superstructure and amongst there, if you can get into there, that's usually where you're going to have some good damage potential anyway, when a New Mexico type ship is coming straight on at you like this. Looking around, we do see that my team has managed to cap the D point, which is fantastic. We do see several destroyers in D, though. They are contesting the point, so we are potentially going to have to deal with these guys now. Maybe I did drop the ball a little on the whole cruiser, the whole cruiser role being to destroy destroyers, or, main cruiser role, I should say. I really did end up focusing more on the battleships, to be frank. Now, I do see the destroyer over here. I've already got armor piercing loaded, so I'm just going to fire off some armor piercing into the destroyer, hoping to hit. No, nothing hits. Continue around along the island, and alright, we're going to continue firing at the New Mexico. New Mexico does start turning here a little, which is quite nice. This should open up the opportunity for me to get a few more nice, well-placed armored piercing shots into him and potentially do a bit more damage. Unfortunately, though, I overestimated how much the New Mexico was actually going to turn, right? And doesn't continue and finish his turn until this point in time. But whatever. We'll just keep our guns firing here and hope to do some more damage. We do see the enemy destroyer sneaking behind the island over there, so need to note that. We do see a Tirpitz that has popped up as well. So the Tirpitz is obviously going to be a pretty big threat here for us, so we need to be aware of that. And then of course there is a Kutuzov, I believe, as well off in the distance. So a few more ships here have popped up that we need to be aware of. Now if we do take a look at the minimap, we can see my team no longer well, you know, basically gave up the western point. I mean, not a whole lot of allies went over there, but we do have several ships over there who are playing defense, so this is good. We need these guys to hold on, you know, in order to prevent the enemy from getting there, capping that point, and then we lose the cap parity. Right now we're putting a pretty good push on here over on the east. If we can just keep it up, you know, we might be able to actually get into the north and start capping that point. I'm going to turn around and start sailing away, right? I'm getting a little close here. There are a number of enemy ships off in the distance, so I do want to open up the distance between myself and them a little. And as well, you know, by doing this too, you know, no longer are you going to be the closest ship to the enemy, and hopefully the enemy is even going to, you know, target another one of your allied ships and not you. So a few more shots go off into the Umagi, did a bit more damage, but nothing too substantial. We do see the Kutuzov off in the distance, and it looks like the player is probably at about maybe a quarter speed thereabouts. So I've got some shots going in. They do a bit of damage, but, you know, not a whole lot, because the player, you know, obviously the Kutuzov sees the shots come in and brings the ship back up to full throttle. So we're going to have to start firing at this player. Unfortunately, island comes into the way. Not going to be able to get too much more going on, but we do manage one citadel into that Kutuzov before the island came around, so that's not too bad at all. We've got shots going off for the Tirpitz, so hoping to do a bit of damage here on the Tirpitz. You know, maybe get a citadel. It's not unheard of for an Admiral Hipper to get a citadel on the Tirpitz. As much as it is, you know, unheard of to get a citadel on the Tirpitz in any ship, but still, it can happen. We do see the Kutuzov again off in the distance. Obviously, the player took a bit of damage from another one of my allies. I mean, I only did the one citadel to the Kutuzov, so that would attribute to some, but not all of the damage. We're going to focus back over onto the Tirpitz here, because we do see the Tirpitz is presenting a nice broadside at this time, whereas the Kutuzov is driving away at an angle. It is going to make it a little harder to get, you know, some pretty significant blows into him. I'd rather focus down on the Tirpitz here. Unfortunately, yeah, do definitely ram right into one of my ally Kutuzovs. I didn't see the player at all, right? Just way too focused on the Tirpitz here. But continued putting shots into the Tirpitz. I was a little afraid that the shots were actually going to hit my ally Kutuzov, and then I didn't want the player to think that I was being, you know, just a salty old bastard here, blaming him for the collision, not understanding that it was actually my fault. We do have a lot of allies actually putting fire into the Tirpitz, so the Tirpitz is going down real quick here. We're not going to have to worry about that player too much longer, which is fantastic. If we do consult the minimap, we now notice that the allied ships we had down there at the sea point, they're all dead now. So, you know, at this point in time in the battle, I haven't quite recognized this and hadn't quite noticed it. You can see I'm still pushing forward, trying to look for the next target, right, and thinking about the targets that are still out there. And then I start looking, yeah, and there's a Fuso, so I know that the Fuso isn't the only enemy ship that's on its way for that sea point, so I definitely do have to turn back and take one for the team here. So, whole objective, I mean, it would be nice if I could survive this little encounter. That would be great. It doesn't always happen. It is a little difficult to actually pull off here, but would be nice. I've got a few sneaky shots going over the mountain here off to the Umagi. Little surprising surprise with those results. There's another citadel on the Umagi, a parting citadel, just to let the Umagi know that, you know, I didn't want to leave. It's just I had to leave. So now we do see there are a number of enemy ships popping up here. We see a York, there's a full health Hipper, there is a Fuso who is almost dead. So, you know, we have a few enemy ships here we're going to have to deal with. Also, there are still 3 enemy destroyers remaining. I didn't see very many, or at least one enemy destroyer rather, over on the east side where we were. So there most likely is going to be an enemy destroyer in this mix here as well. So we need to prepare for all this and just, you know, hope that we don't die too quickly. So we've got the York and we've got the Admiral Hipper coming in quick. Now I do have the well, both the York and the Admiral Hipper here, all the ships involved at this point in time have the advantage in that we have torpedoes on either side of our ships, right? So I'm going to be able to fire off torpedoes on the York and the Hipper. Now, the York has fired its torpedoes. I did pop my acoustic sonar ability because I knew exactly what the player was doing, you know, trying to get around the mountain and then torpedo me, you know, sneaky sort of play here, but wasn't really going to fall for it, so I do take some evasive maneuvers now. I'm really trying to avoid these torpedoes, but I do end up taking one, and I do end up avoiding that second one, so not too bad. I had the repair party handy there, so able to repair the damage immediately. We can see torpedoes coming in from the Admiral Hipper and the Mitsuki that popped up, so yes, there is a destroyer nearby, and we're going to launch our torpedoes off at the York. So things are happening pretty crazy here, so we do manage to avoid the Mitsuki torpedoes. We also managed to avoid the Admiral Hipper torpedoes. We start putting shots into the York. I was quite surprised that it wasn't just starting to rack up, you know, a whole bunch of citadels on the York here. Now, obviously, since I put up the York video, which was quite a while ago, they have totally changed the York itself, and it's, you know, quite a decent cruiser at tier 7 now. So there we go. We finish off the York with a torpedo hit and a citadel, and that player is gone. We do have the enemy Fuso who's here quickly, so I'm going to have to put this player, or rather put a few shots into this player, and then bam, the enemy Hipper pops up once again. So I'm on fire. You know, we're in the red hit points now at this point in time, so things aren't going so well. Did a nice chunk of damage though to the Fuso, so that's not too bad. So we'll launch off our torpedoes here at the enemy Hipper, and hopefully start getting some citadels on the Hipper. Same thing is happening, unfortunately. It seems as though I'm freaking out with my aiming and whatnot, and not taking the time to actually make sure that the shells are going to be landing underneath the turrets or the center of the ship to actually score the citadel. Now, we do see torpedoes on the way from the enemy Admiral Hipper, and unfortunately the torpedoes I had launched off at the enemy Admiral Hipper all miss. So I'm going to have to take some crazy evasive maneuvers here. Hopefully I'm not going to hit any of those torpedoes, but yeah, just not meant to be, and I do die. Oh well. I took one for the team, right? 107,000 damage isn't too bad at all. I did defend the point. The enemies don't have the point. They're not even contesting it anymore. Not too bad. And I mean, while all this is going on as well, my allies were able to jump up there to the north and take the northern cap. So now we are in control of this cap zone as well, and we don't have to, you know, necessarily be too concerned if the enemies do actually decide to come in here and take the southern point. We will still have parity, and besides, in all of this, we did manage to sink a number of enemy ships and now have the lead overall, regardless of you know, whether or not, or regardless of, you know, whether or not they take the southern point. We're still going to win the battle, but still taking one for the team. Not an easy thing to do. You know, best of intentions, you know, obviously always have the best of intentions, but not always the easiest thing to do here. Anyway, we jump over to one of my allies. You can see player in North Carolina here. The battle is almost over, right? And basically, if the North Carolina can manage to finish off this enemy Mitsuki, we can call it victory. So it's pretty cool to see the secondary batteries on the North Carolina fire away. The North Carolina, the Iowa, as well as the Montana. I mean, there's just such a crazy array there. I know the Yamato has it as well, obviously, but you know, just cool to see every now and then. So there we go. Victory is ours. The Mitsuki is gone, and it was a successful taken one for the team, I'd say. Not too shabby at all. So we'll take a look at the overall results here, find out how much you know, all of this damage did equate to in terms of experience and credits. So like I say, about 107,000 damage wasn't too bad. Did manage the 1 kill, 4 citadels. We do get about 1831 potentially. So top of the team overall in base experience anyway. We can see how the damage is broken down. About 28,000 damage done to that Amagi in those few citadels. That was pretty great. Always love it when that happens in the Hipper. When all said and done, we do walk away with 115,000 credits, and of course about what is that, 5,600 experience, which isn't too bad at all. Not too bad at all. Anyway, that is today's video. I do hope you guys enjoyed it. Remember to leave any comments you have for me in the video comment section below. Love reading those and responding back to them. Remember to hit the old like button if you did like today's video. Remember, hit subscribe if you were not a subscriber. And as always, I do hope you enjoy the rest of your day.